Blanket currently has a life of mine based on reserves being the highest category of resource confidence out for 10 years. And if you include resources measured, indicated, and inferred, it's quite a bit longer than that.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Caledonia Mining Chief Executive Mark Learmonth. Mark, very good to speak with you. You recently announced strong gold production results for the second quarter and first half of 2025, and that's led to an increase in production guidance for the year. Could you talk us through the factors behind this year's strong performance to date?
Yeah, quite right. We did 21,000 ounces in the second quarter, and that's on top of a good first quarter. So it's about 39,000 ounces for the half year, and as a result of that, we have increased our production guidance for the year. And the things that really underlie that is it's not rocket science. It really builds on some developments that we've spoken about in the past. Late last year, we had a very comprehensive change in management at Blanket, as a result of which we've introduced or we've allowed sort of a younger group of management to step up. You can use whatever fancy word you like, sort of visible felt leadership or management by walking around. But the upshot is that the new management team spends much more time underground, seeing what's going on, seeing and being seen. And it's just a fact of life that as they're down there, as they're underground, people work more productively and more is done. I think the other thing that we've become aware of as well is that as the management team spend more time underground, they're picking up issues that need to be addressed much more early, and so they get addressed much more quickly. So it's not rocket science, but look, we'll take it any day. It's great, very welcome.
Mark, how are you investing in Blanket Mine's long-term potential?
Yes, Blanket currently has a life of mine based on reserves being the highest category of resource confidence out for 10 years. And if you include resources measured, indicated, and inferred, it's quite a bit longer than that. So we have an exploration strategy which we're working against. And the idea really was just to replace those reserves and resources that we're exploiting, just basically stand still, because there's not really an awful lot of merit in extending the mine life further and further and further, because in value terms you don't get much benefit from that. But actually, having said that, we've been favorably surprised. We're getting better grades, better widths, and so we are actually replacing more than we are exploiting at depth. So to support that, that does mean in due course the life of mine will be extended. We're investing to improve ventilation and access underground, also investing to improve the long-term resilience in terms of electricity supply and that sort of stuff. But really, all that means is that Blanket will, in all likelihood, just continue to produce at the current rate for longer. Okay, which doesn't really get people excited. What's probably more interesting is the exploration activities that we've started looking sort of slightly further afield, still on the mine footprint, but just a few hundred meters to the east and to the north and to the south, areas where we know there's mineralization, but we've never really had the time to look at it. And now, given the fact that we've got a better handle on production, we've now got the more flexibility to look at these areas. And we have mentioned in the past that we're looking for resource in these areas, and towards the end of the year, I'd hope that we would be able to come back to the market and give you some of the results of that exploration, which would add an extra dimension to Blanket in addition to the existing core operation. So there's quite a lot of life left in Blanket yet.
What are your key areas of focus for the remainder of the year?
Okay, Blanket, having got our arms around production, keep that stable. We're now able to put more attention into looking at our costs. Whilst our costs are not out of control, we do believe that with some close attention, we can get costs in terms of electricity, labor, and consumables. We can start to reduce those. That takes time. Blanket is a very, very complex, deep level operation. It employs about 2,000 people or just 2,200 people. So you can't just go in and make changes willy-nilly. You need to do it on a very considered basis. But we're now beginning to have the capacity to look closely at our cost base with a view to achieving improved efficiency. And then clearly we're continuing to do the feasibility study work at Bilboes, with a view to looking at the best way to commercialize that property, balancing growth and minimizing equity dilution and what we call sort of financial jeopardy. So that work's continuing. Quite a lot of work happening behind the scenes there.
Mark, I hope you'll keep us posted on progress. Thank you very much for speaking with us today.
Thank you very much.
Mark Learmonth is Chief Executive of Caledonia Mining.